time. So, NFL has an interesting situation going on here in Cincinnati Bengals mini camp. Shamar Stewart was their first-round pick this year, and he left. He left because he's in a contract dispute with the team right now. Zach Taylor is the head coach, and he had this on Shamar Stewart missing the last day of minicamp.
Yeah, he wasn't here today, so we just focused on the guys that were here.
What was the conversation been like with him?
He and I have had positive conversations.
Did he communicate with you before he left? Or did you guys, was there a conversation between you?
He did. We've had good communication.
Zach, is it a big deal he's missed out on on-field reps?
I think for all the rookies, you'd like them to be on the field, but certainly there's things that happen over the course of an NFL career, and this is one of them right now. So he's been in the meetings. He's been positive in that way. He's been learning. He's been a good learner, and we look forward to getting him back on the field quickly.
Kevin Clark, you were laughing while we are playing Zach Taylor's sound as Zach Taylor is trying to answer seriously about a first-round pick who is unsigned and kind of, for lack of a better way of saying it, in a holdout right now.
Yeah, I was laughing because, first of all, he was like, well, we've had good conversations. He left, Zach. He's gone. He's not here anymore. So I don't know how positive those conversations were. And the other thing was the phrase, there are certain things over the course of an NFL career, and this is one of them, is the most vague general coach speak, and I just love it. I love when coaches outdo themselves with coach speak. Shamar Stewart, by the way, also left the Senior Bowl. No one remembers this. No one cares. He just left the Senior Bowl. I think he felt he had shown enough or something. So this is his move.
Was he wrong?
So he's fine to walk away.
He was the 17th pick in the draft with like no college stats.
That's right, because I was interested in him for the Packers, and there was not a lot there.
He was one of the worst run defenders that Next Gen Stats or somebody's ever charted at the college level. So that's bad. He needs to learn. And what's funny about this is the Bengals brought in Shamar Stewart in large part to gain leverage with the contract situations with guys like Trey Hendrickson. Miles Murphy hasn't produced as much, and this isn't working. And so what's funny now is that Shamar Stewart has said that other veterans on the team were like, hey, you're doing the right thing, until the Bengals changed their stance on contracts. This is revealing what has been revealed many times over to most people who follow football, which is the Bengals do not operate from a place of trying to win a Super Bowl. They do not operate from a place of maximizing Joe Burrow's window to compete. And a guy who needs to learn NFL football very quickly in order to get the sacks that eluded him in college is not getting them now.
So if they're going to pay Joe Burrow, they're going to make him happy by paying his wide receivers, then why isn't the singular focus to do everything else they can to maximize this window and win a Super Bowl? Because you're investing a lot financially in making him happy on his side of the ball, but you're not doing it holistically with the team.
Here's the problem. I look at all the other AFC quarterbacks who are absolute superstars, who sell out opposing buildings. They're Evan Cohen, Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen, Patrick.
Yep.
All of them have GMs who make big moves and owners who are comfortable writing checks. Now, not all of them. I don't think Clark Hunt was the greatest owner in the world before we got Mahomes. Then he started getting more aggressive, started to be more financially generous with the way they're able to spend cap dollars and stuff like that, and real cash and the cash flow and all that stuff. I think that once they realized the opportunity they had, they said, you know what, we're going to maximize the window and try to win a Super Bowl every single year. The Bengals had the same situation after they go to the Super Bowl, and they don't change a darn thing about the way they operate. And it is unbelievable. And you see this with the Trey Hendrickson thing, where Katie Blackburn, Mike Brown's daughter, basically said, well, he's got to at some point be happy with the offer that he has. No, that's not a strategy. It's to give somebody a below market offer and say, well, at some point you just got to be happy with it. That's not how this works. The Chiefs don't operate like that. The Bills don't operate like that. The Ravens, Joe Burrow, among his peers, is at a massive disadvantage.
He chose to.
Because he's not signed the extension?
Well, he chose to be for a couple of reasons. So he signed his own extension, which I don't blame him. He's making a lot of money and he's earned it. But he also made a very big point to make sure his two wide receivers were taken care of. And that's great. That's he's a loyal guy. Joe Burrow is an interesting guy, and unlike the guys you'd compare him to, right? In this case, you would compare him to. Now, I think Jalen Hurts is better for me on my team. I'd rather have Jalen Hurts leading my team than Joe Burrow at this point. I think that Joe Burrow is considered a better quarterback. I'd rather have Jalen Hurts leading my team.
Would all things equal, Howie Roseman gets offered Joe Burrow for Jalen Hurts straight up?
He's doing it.
Of course he is.
I currently with this current roster,
today.
I don't know about that. Not the point. The point is this. Joe Burrow.
Sounds like it should be the point,
Yeah.
but that's
We
okay.
can get back. No, we can get back to that. We can get back to that. Joe Burrow is compared to Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, and Patrick Mahomes. All three of those guys were Brady'd in a good way. You're amazing. We're not going to pay wide receivers. We're taking them away because we're going to pay everybody else. And that's exactly what you have to do to build a great football team, I think. So Joe Burrow's interesting at Ohio State. Let's go through his Ohio State career. Now that we're done with that. At LSU, he had Justin Jefferson and Jamar Chase.
Yeah, it worked out. They
He
won.
goes to the Cincinnati Bengals. He has Jamar Chase and T. Higgins. This is a man that has majored in elite, all-time great wide receivers that he has helped make even better, but they've always had elite receivers. He made a point to basically say, I'm going to come back here, and I'm going to stay here forever. And you're going to pay me, and I deserve this money, but you're also going to pay them. And if you don't pay them, I'm going to hint at the idea that maybe I won't be here. And that, I believe, put them even further into a bad situation, because what you're saying, what CC always says, is this is an organization that is not excited to pay players. That even when they have proof of concept, they don't invest even more into the players. Well, he's not helping the cause.
But
He should be demanding that they pay Trey Hendrickson over T. Higgins. He should have.
That doesn't make any sense. Because
makes all the
Eagles,
sense.
The Eagles pay everybody, and they have two great wide
In advance.
receivers. Yeah.
But the Bengals, once the Bengals didn't do that.
But the Bengals have been operating this for 60 years. The problem with the Eagles is, in comparison to the Bengals, they sign. The problem the Bengals have is the Eagles sign guys as soon as they show any promise in their extension.
Correct. Right.
And then on the other side of it, exactly. On the other,
I give
and
Howie
they're
Roseman
able,
all the credit.
and Howie Roseman's able. They
Specifically.
spend cash, and then Howie Roseman is able to get out of it effectively. Like they signed Carson Wentz that extension. Carson Wentz no longer the future. They get Carson Wentz out of town. They're able to eat that dead cap.
They're good at saying hello and good at saying goodbye.
And extremely. I mean, they're really good at understanding sunk costs and saying, you know what, we're going to move on from this, move on from mistakes. Belichick was great at that too.
Correct.
The other side of that is the Bengals and the Cowboys, who play games with every single contract and never able to maximize their roster. So you look at a team like the Eagles, and they've got A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith. They've got a bunch of pass rushers in the front seven. They've got, first of all, part of that is that I said first of all in the middle of the point, which is always good communication. Zach Taylor
Fourth
would
of
say. Ninth of all. But the important thing to mention here is that the Eagles also hit on their draft picks, which the Bengals have not been doing the past 3 or 4 years.
Right. So what I'm saying is they're everything you're saying is correct. I'm in agreement. They kind of compound problems that once they've made all these mistakes, then listening to the quarterback say, pay those two, instead of saying, Joe, no.
Well,
We've paid you to make a B-level receiver and into an A-level receiver.
You say pay those, but like when I look at this Bengals team, every other quarterback gets their stars paid because the owners and the GM recognizes how important the window is.
The Eagles did it too, by the way.
You don't get to say, don't pay my guys because my owner doesn't know how to build a team.
Well, okay, so the point is, Jamar Chase and T. Higgins should have been paid years ago. let's just say. Okay. Once that doesn't happen, don't make it even more of a mistake.
But it didn't
is what I'm
happen
saying.
by choice. It didn't happen because your owner doesn't believe in that situation.
Well, then leave. It's
Okay.
2025 in sports. Joe Burrow can go anywhere he wants.
That's what. Give me an example.
Carson Palmer on the Bengals is the example. Retire. Like literally just walk away.
In the middle of his career.
Because it's never going to change.
No.
He's on the wrong team.
Okay, first of all, Carson Palmer signed an extension with the Bengals and then left.
Right.
That. So Joe Burrow can still be on the Carson Palmer track. By the way, it took Carson Palmer went to the Raiders.
Now that part is true.
Carson Palmer went to the Raiders afterwards. It wasn't exactly the greatest choice.
All right, we can continue this conversation. Smalls has all the information to compare.